Welcome to Tony Forex Academy. It's a good day. It's Friday, 24th of July, and today I want to talk to you guys about something very, very important. One of the strategies that I've been trying to study recently, and it's a strategy that if you try to use, it can scale up your trading setups, and you're able to make some good money. Okay, this is all about smart money concept, and I'm here to talk about two things, that is the break of structure and change of character. Now we all know that the market, only three things happen in a market. Okay, the market is either going up, the market is either coming down, or the market is consolidating. Okay, so when you look at this type of setup, normally let me show you first the definition for those who don't know. Now, a break of structure happens when price breaks a previous swing high or swing low while continuing the current trend. Now, let's look, for example, this is GBP USD. The current trend from 23rd June was an uptrend, and this is on a 4-hour time frame. We're able to see that price came from 1.31517 up to this level of 1.3556. okay, so what happened along that trend line? According to our definition, a break of structure occurs when a previous swing high or a swing low is broken, and the purpose for this is to signal a continuation in the trend. Now let's look, for example, okay, this is like an area that I've marked for the first break of structure. Okay, so what happens when price broke this level? Price came to this swing high, that is at 1700, 1.32648, and then what happened? Price dropped. Okay, now you just mark this first point, this swing high, and then you put your line there. Now you wait for price to come back to that zone. Now what happens when price came here later at around that is on 1st July 1300? What happened? Price broke that level. That should signal you that this break of structure, price will continue going up. And did that happen? Yes, price came up to 1.33867, and what happened? Price came down a bit, retraced back a few pullbacks. So you mark your line. Okay, this should signal you that price is continuing in the same direction of the trend. Okay, so you see what happened? Price came to this level, but a few pullbacks, but that was the first signal that we are continuing with the trend. Price broke that level, came back to that level later, and then price went up. This swing high on 10th July, what happened? Price came back down. Okay, but you just mark this point immediately. Anytime you see this level has been broken, what do? You make sure that you mark this point. When price come back to this level, it will go up. So that is the first way of using break of structure to technically analyze this type of a market on an uptrend. Okay, and you get your setups. So maybe you missed buys on this level, you can wait for price to come back. You missed buys on this level, you can wait for price to come back, and then place your positions. Price goes up. Okay, the same here, and then price reach this level where we can say this was like a resistance level, because already price is coming down. So what happened when price is coming down? Let's look at our definition again. A break of structure happens when price breaks a previous swing high or swing low. On an uptrend, we saw that was on we are focusing on the swing highs, and on a downtrend we are focusing on the swing low. So let's check, for example, this first swing low here. What happened here? Price came down here. This was on 17th July at 1300. What happened? Price broke this level. Okay, that was the first signal that you should see on 20th. Price broke this level, so you wait. Maybe you missed these sales, so you wait a few pullbacks, and then you take your positions. Again, price broke this swing low, break of structure. Okay, what happens? You confirm. You just put your line and then you confirm. and then price continues down, another break of structure. What happens after so many 4 hours? Another break of structure. So for example, you want to take your sell positions in this type of market because this is a live market. So let's say, for example, we mark this point. This is the current swing low at 1.329995. okay, so if price just comes and breaks this level, maybe comes to 1.32900, that is the first signal that you should see that we are going down. But do you take your sell positions immediately? You can wait for a few pullbacks, maybe up to this place, and then you take your sells. Okay, so that is how you use these two types of analysis or using the smart money concept. Okay, so you see that on a bearish break of structure, this occurs on the lower broken, when the lower low is broken, and it signals that the trend is continuing. Which trend? The bearish trend is continuing. And on the bullish trend, it occurs on the higher, the swing high, the current swing highs. When they are broken, it signals a trend continuation in that direction. And you're able to see this type of structure here. We have break of structure. And now let's talk about change of character. A change of character normally occurs when the previous swing is broken. Okay, it signals a reversal, a possible reversal. And how do we see that? So a change of character signals a possible reversals. And how does it occur? You must make sure that you mark these higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Okay, and then price suddenly breaks below the last high low. Okay, how do we see that? Let's come here. Price breaks what? Price breaks below the last high low. What is the last high low? The last high low is this one. Then price breaks it. Okay, but you have to confirm with the last on the uptrend. On the uptrend, for example, here on the uptrend, okay, this was our uptrend, and then this was our last high low. Okay, when we come back here, let me write it here. This was our last high low. Okay, this was our last high low. Okay, on this uptrend. Now price already broke this level. Okay, so what happens? This has already confirmed to you that this is a change of character. We are now confirming the bearish reversal. Okay, so we can mark this line to be like our, let me remove this long line and put a shorter one so that you can see what I mean by that. This is our, we can mark this to be our change of character. Okay, so this level has been broken. Okay, because this is our last high low. Okay, it has been broken here. This is a confirmation that a change of character has occurred. Okay, so it means institutions may now sell, and that's how we use this type of an analysis using the smart money concept. Okay, on an uptrend, you can pick another pair and try it out. You just focus on 3 things that happen in the market. You make sure that you see the uptrend, the downtrend, and the sideways or the range. In other words, when the price is consolidating. But I would advise that you do not trade when the price is consolidating. Try to focus on the high trend, the uptrend, and the downtrend, because every time price is broken, it signals either a continuation, and when these key levels are broken, we either see a change of character or a price continuation in that direction. It could be an uptrend, it could be a downtrend. So make sure you just understand these 2 concepts, and when you're doing your technical analysis, make sure you mark. The first thing that you do when you're trying to analyze your market, always start with the higher time frame. Never start with the lower time frame, because you use the lower time frame just to get your entries. So you start with the higher time frame. Then, for example, if you come to daily candle, you get your bias. Okay, So you are able to see these clearly. This is our resistance and this is our support. So price is trying to come back lower to this our support level, but we were just using the recent market direction, because you see how many breakout structures occurred in this type of a market, and now we are going down, and already we have seen a change of character in this type of market. If you want to take your sales, you can wait for price to come back to these levels to retest these previous swing high, previous high low, this level that I've marked, okay, and then you take your sales positions, okay, but you do not be greedy. It depends on how many pips do you want to target. If you want to target for sales, okay, because for swing traders, sometimes that's where most traders go wrong. Anything can happen in the market. Consistency is the key. Just take partial profits, and yes, that's how you trade using this concept. I've been trying it out for the last 1 month, and I see it's working out for me. So maybe you can try it first on your demo account and see if will it work for you before you test it on your real account. And it might not work for all pairs, okay, you must understand that, because not all strategies work for all pairs. Okay, so that's it for today. Watch out for the next video. I'll talk about something also very important using the smart money concept. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and you're gonna be learning with us as we continue growing in this industry.